in there, and we tore the tile out and the concrete backer board out, and when he got the nipple out of the plumbing and I cleaned it up, I could hold it up and see the pinhole.
Yeah. Water can travel, like you said,
Yeah.
way.
Seeks least resistance.
Hmm?
Water seeks least resistance.
Well, this wicking was, anyway, that's all I have.
It's in there, right?
You take photos of it?
Yes.
Right.
What did your insurance company say?
I didn't call them. Too bad.
Act of God, little pinhole that's an act of God.
Things happen.
Yeah.
So you have to re-backer board, re-tile, blah, blah, blah.
I worked on it yesterday and today, wanted to make certain, and our plumber friend said, don't do anything for a week, make certain that it's
That's the
fixed.
real problem, yes. Yes.
Don't be in a hurry.
Yeah.
You put it all back together and you
Starts
have-
leaking again.
You have one of those oh shit moments when it starts leaking.
Yeah, he said, you know, this valve is 42 years old. The wall's torn up. The time to replace it
Is
is
now. Well, you want a pressure balancing valve anyway, so.
That's code now.
That's code.
Well, not only that, but it helps you from getting scalded when somebody flushes the toilet.
Taking all the fun out of it, Hart.
That's not fun.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that was,
That
our
is
source of
entertainment.
entertainment.
You get old, nothing, got nothing there.
But just one more comment on that. It's nice to have a master plumber as a friend who spent 4.5 hours at my house. And his total bill, including the balancing valve, was $300.
That's pretty cheap.
yeah, I guess that's an act of God.
Yeah.
Well, he was probably stymied for a while, wasn't he?
If it weren't, it probably would have been, with his time and stuff, probably would have been close to $1,000.
Easily. Question, has he seen it before?
Hmm?
Has he seen this before?
No, he had never seen it before.
Okay.
So what damage a little pinhole after rubbing for 30 years ain't gonna happen? Things had all these events came together for a perfect storm for a big mess in your floor.
Anytime you have the walls open, replumbing is a good plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And rewiring if you've got exposed wiring too.
Especially this time of year when it to dry out all the humidity in there, you could be sealing in all mildew possibilities,
Cool.
mold.
I'm Kenny. I'm here.
I'm Marcus. Let's see, I got a presentation update on my IoT project. I started a year ago, so also talk about the website real quick. Leroy, we talked about putting our public-facing website and also basically our whole existence on Wix.com. And it seems to be, I think Leroy found it and sort of pushed it over to me a little bit, but I pushed back and said, okay, you need to set up an email address. He set up the email address, also gave me permission to go into it. That seems to work okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems to work okay. Yeah.
You have full admin rights except for like 2 or 3 things.
Yeah, the only thing I got concerned about originally is that I couldn't go in and create a new website. You know, I
Yeah.
can create multiple because there's gonna be a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
So what I did is just I went on and recreated over the one that you started. I started there, and then I'll work out offline and.
That's what I was kind of hoping you would do, because
Yeah.
it forced me to, when I set up the new account, it said, you have to set up a website, and I'm like, why?
Yeah. And the thing about it is that you have the ability to go in and sort of not do the WYSIWYG stuff. In other words, sort of work on your own, but we really don't want to do that. We don't want to put that much onus on ourselves that, that anytime you make a modification, it becomes you have to be a web designer and all that stuff. So they have a lot of tools in there, so I'm pretty much staying within their border. So I didn't work on it a lot this week so much because I spent a lot of time getting ready for what you guys are going to see later as an update on my IoT project. So anyway, I'm Marcus Davis.
And that's it, huh? Or-
You,
the-
yeah,
Oh,
Jim
y'all-
already went.
Oh, okay. Well, how about I
Last
just
to
go
the best.
to my
It's your turn.
project. So, as I was saying, about a year ago, it's a little longer than a year ago, I came in here with this design, and number one, I guess this is about a year and a half ago when I actually joined the group. And so shortly after that, I came in with this design saying, okay, I got to find some way to keep myself motivated in a certain direction. Yes?
Is that what you wanted up there?
Why is that not? That's a good question.
Did you do the tab?
Yeah, I did.
Is it another tab?
I don't think so.
Did you lose connection?
Oh, maybe I lost it.
As far as I'm concerned, he
You
didn't.
did? Okay, let me go. Let's see.
Did you select do the whole
I took-
screen?
I took,
It looks like the whole screen.
Yeah.
I've got his little windows. Nope, those are my windows.
okay.
I don't know.
Let me stop it and just reconnect it. Okay, so source.
Test desktop.
Right, I did desktop.
Okay, and then just click on that.
It blew up.
Then go down. Now see, mine it makes me do this. So I'm not sure if that was the issue. So I have to actually click in there, entire screen.
Does the pumpkin turn orange?
Try share.
Yeah, and then you have to share, and that's what
Okay, let's see what it does.
So that's part of it, but I want this here. Yeah, so that's there. That worked last time too. So if I go to the next, which is, this is all PowerPoint, so it shouldn't care. Go here. Okay, see it's not changing. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's see if it'll go to the next screen now. Well, you can do it. Okay, cool.
There we go.
Okay, so as I was saying, so over a year ago, I decided to create this big design thing that sort of keeps me on track because, as Leroy knows, is that those shiny objects get in your way a lot of times when you're doing this stuff. You start down one road and all of a sudden, whoa, this looks more interesting. So,
Squirrel.
yeah, exactly.
Squirrel, yeah.
And so I wanted in some way to keep me focused on the Internet of Things part of the project. So I created this big project, but ultimately we're going to look at that project and some of the stuff, as the people who's been here often, some of it will be you've seen before, but what I really want to do is to show that I sort of put things in place in my quote-unquote smart home. I put things in place, and some things you start to find out that either like, Wi-Fi doesn't quite work down in the basement as well. So you find out these little idiosyncrasies once you put the things in place, and you have to sort of work around. And we'll see a few of those. So the first thing we'll look at the IoT project design that I put together. Just a quick little brief slide of that. Then let's see. Can I see right? I know that was really slow.
Don't watch that screen. Watch your screen.
Okay. Let me see if it's there. Okay, you're right. Okay. So we'll go to the IoT devices, which actually we'll show
Did
the
it die
individual
again?
devices. No, I think we're okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we're okay. And then I'll show you where I basically deployed each one. The mouse, it goes away if I keep it still for a while. It sort of disappears.
Okay.
And then I actually used this sort of text-to-speech module, which I actually showed it here, and it became a real neat tool to use as a functional testing to make sure everything is working. I will show you two automations that are put in place that I've actually talked about here. Then we'll go through the project. I tried to standardize on a lot of components when I first started out. And we'll talk about random thoughts, and they'll say, okay, where do I go next? So with that, let's get started. So this was the design I showed. I'm not going to blow it up or anything, but this was the design. each one of the little microprocessors or microcontrollers actually show a different type sensor. And so some of the stuff changed. Just one little point, this little thing right here, this I started, when I started the project, this actually exists, and then I'm sort of circling it. You can see me circling. Yeah. It actually went away. It was called Happy something, but the guy who was creating the thing sort of decided that, you know, he didn't want to do it anymore, so it went away, and I had to, you know, again, that's what happens when you go in design, all of a sudden something disappears, you gotta find something else that works for you. So anyway, that was just one of the issues that occurred, among other things. So anyway, that's my house, and so, yeah, my house. Okay, so I'm gonna go through each, and these little arrows, it sort of points in the direction where the sensors are, so you can see I got a lot of sensors now. Okay, so the first 4 sensors I actually have one in each automobile, my wife's automobile and my automobile. There's a beacon, and that beacon is actually, this beacon is actually one of the ones I showed you before. You'll see it in the picture. It's like, it's called a rad beacon by a company called, oh, come on, you can do it. Radius Networks. So I bought those beacons and interfaced them to a Raspberry Pi. But then I also have the LoRa beacon. So anyway, this is part of the, you know, you'll see that's part of the automation. It allows me to detect when a car is actually a few feet away from the house. In the garage, there is a mailbox. For the mailbox, there's an ESP Now hub. And the reason I use an ESP Now, with people that's been around, is that anytime I use a battery, want to use a battery device, I use an ESP Now, because that allows me to not use that wireless. And when you're using wireless, it just drains the batteries like you wouldn't believe. So anyway, and I also have in the garage, there's a motion detector. So if you walk in my garage, it'll indicate that. Actually, I just have like a little what was that thing, little buddy talker in the garage, so it'll say intruder alert or something crazy like that when someone walks in the garage. I know I'm crazy, but hey, it's fun. So then, and on the garage door, I also have a relay that can and you'll see what I actually had to do with the little relay buttons, the buttons to control the garage up and down. So I actually put relays on those and went in and modified those so I could actually control the garage doors. Of course, I have to have sensors to let me know when the garage doors are open or not. And then moving down here, I have, let's see, garage. Oh, I also put, and I brought it in here at one point, and again, you'll see a picture of it. So you'll see the picture of the actual component once we get out. I'm just doing an overview. But I can control both of the garage lights and also the driveway lights. Outside, there is a sensor, Lita, now you'll love this, Leroy, is that my wife actually gets a transplant medication, and they deliver it on the front porch of on our stoop, and it just drives me nuts that they deliver it there. And so I got a sign out there to tell it. I made a drop box around the corner in front of the garage so they can put it in there, because if I'm not home and when the wind blows, they're gone. Yeah. And they just don't weigh much, and I talked to them, but they still put it out there, rain and snow, whatever. It still
So
goes.
drop box. This is just a box. There's a slot in it.
You'll see it. Yeah, you will see it in a minute.
Okay.
And also on the mailbox, and I also brought this in. On the mailbox, there is a open sensor on the mailbox. Again, that's battery operated also. So I won't go through all of these, but that's basically. Let me go to the basement. The basement, there's actually a day and night sensor. So in other words, I look at this as sort of like a what they call it, central nervous system. The central nervous system. So the system knows if it's night or day, just like you do. And so I have that down in the basement. I also
Sometimes.
yeah, exactly. And so I also have a sensor down there with the temperature and humidity, and also a light sensor to determine if the light is on in the basement. It just drives me crazy if I wake up in the morning and I left the lights on downstairs, because in most basements you have so many bulbs, and it's like, oh, I just lost 25% of electricity. So my wife didn't care. I care. You know, it's like you don't need that. So let's see what else is interesting here. Oh, my tub overflow sensor. And I think I brought that up before. My wife one time went up and started the tub. She's a bathtub person, so she started the tub. Comes downstairs. We're sitting there watching TV, and all of a sudden, it's like, what is that noise? I knew it was water, but I thought it was the TV. Actually, I mean, I really thought it was the TV. I looked at the TV. Oh, that's nothing. It's like, oh shit. And she jumps up and starts running. Oh, it wasn't pretty. You're talking about, I mean, yeah, we had to tear a lot of stuff, by the way. So now I have a sensor up there that actually, you'll see the sensor. I have a sensor there that'll actually, once it gets to that point, it'll actually it goes off audibly, and also I got a little indicator screen that'll come up on the screen or something if I'm sitting in front of the computer. But anyway, and also I have these presence beacons. I have one on my keys. Let's see, we'll see a picture of it. I got one on my keys. I got one on my little doggy. You'll see a picture of my doggy. You guys will say, oh, he's a cute little thing. Then I have one on you guys see it coming in here. It's what I call my man purse. It's like one of those man purse. So and it's actually one on my laptop right here. So that's a beacon. It's actually sending out. It's beaconing now, but of course it has to have a hub to pick it up. So anyway, so that's the overview, and then we'll sort of get into everything now.
So is it a transponder?
It's when you say transponder, it's just one direction. It's not it's like a beacon. It's constantly sending out. I can determine.
So it has a battery in it.
It has battery in it, and it's Bluetooth Low Energy. So which makes it so typically you can adjust the power out and also the rate. So I always set it at pretty much the lowest rate, which is every 1 second. I mean, you can have it going 10 times a second, and you can also adjust the power to from minus 3 dB to 3 dBm. So so you have some control over how fast it actually drains the battery. So anyway, in the garage we have this. I have hubs all over the place, and guys, everybody feel comfortable with a hub. I didn't really think about this. A hub basically translates some signal. I mean, in this case, we're translating from the LoRa signal to a Wi-Fi signal, because everything that I'm receiving it has to go to Wi-Fi eventually. And then so this hub actually picks up the two cars. So it picks up the beacon that's actually in each car. And this hub right here is actually the ESP Now hub that actually picks up the mailbox. So it's actually only purpose in its life is to communicate with the mailbox. And again, the only reason why you do that is because ESP Now is just not power hungry. It'll allow you to run the batteries for years.
So it's battery operated. It doesn't have power at all.
This right here has power. Actually, these two have power, and they're actually hooked up in the garage. However, the mailbox sensor is a battery. And I'll show you what that sensor looks like.
So in other words, the two hubs are independent, and they have 110 power to them.
They actually are going into a micro USB port, so they actually have 5 volts connected to them.
Okay.
And I'll show you what that. Actually, what happens is that you know how in the garage openers up here, and it has they install a 2 outlet strip. So I bought these little strips, the little outlet plugs that actually have USB connectors in them. So, and I got a picture of that too.
Okay, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, and so we have this is the motion detector in the garage, and it just sits on the wall against the wall, and when someone comes in, it sends a signal out. So these are the 2, of course, my garage door openers. And what I did is that this box just basically has 2 relays in there, and then so I just interface that button, basically went across the button in parallel and turn the garage on. So yeah, So that's what that actually controls the garage door. So I can actually remotely control the garage doors. This sensor here these sensors here are wired up to what we call read relays that are actually not relays, but the read sensors that are hooked to the garage and the magnetic, just like any window sensor basically. So those two connections right here are going from each garage door. This, which I brought in before, this is actually a modification of the Sonoff little AC switches. And I wish I would have sold the back end of that, but I didn't. But I brought these in here at one point, and what happens now, so I replaced the two switches that turns on the lights for the garage and the light for outside in the driveway. So these actually, so you have to hold these buttons down. My wife, she just didn't want to do that. She did not. Say, all you have to do is just push the button, hold it for a half a second, and it comes on. And what I also did is that there's a little LED in that little device, so you can actually see when it's actually on. That's kind of neat because, so I can actually walk past it and then see if the light's on and out in the driveway, for example. So that's sort of a modification. It's actually been working really well. I'm surprised. I was thinking, okay, what happens when they stop working? What I gotta do? I'm take the whole thing out or reboot it? So let's see. So the next thing. Oh, there's the box. Okay, so here's the box I came up with, and it just turned out I had wood around, and I said, oh, okay, I'll make a box. So this box actually is notice I have the Federal Express, UPS, and actually Amazon. I should have said China Made too or something like that.
That's the drop box?
Yeah, that's the drop box. So this lid actually opens, and also this actually opens for bigger things. So it's a little ledge in here actually. And what I did is I said, okay, I'm gonna have to put two switches there. But what I decided to do, this is actually a motion detector right here, and this is actually where the dome of the motion detector is right here. And so it'll actually sense either or. So if the bottom door is open, it'll sense that, or if the top, drop down it'll sense that. So that's the ledge right here. So I modified that. That was an after effect. So I modified that and cut that slot out so it could actually sense both the top and the bottom of the thing. So, and on that mailbox, on the mailbox, the sensor is actually positioned under here, and that's all, it's battery operated. So the mailbox sits out here, and this sensor right here, and then up here you can see, right here is where the mailbox, the door is, and this is one of those little read switches. And then there's a magnet actually on the door.
So that's inside the mailbox?
This is out. No, it's outside. It's actually underneath the mailbox.
Yeah.
It's actually underneath the mailbox, right? So it's actually.
But there's a platform in the bottom of the mailbox, and then there's an open area underneath that, typically.
Yeah. So we're looking at the bottom.
So it's between that horizontal board and
right.
And the bottom.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So what are you trying to determine whether you got mail or bill?
Exactly. Yeah, it determines whether when it opens up, it triggers it. And what I have in the code that's running in the background, once it opens, I get an announcement in the house that it happened. Then every half an hour, it goes through this cycle and says, you may have mail. You may have mail. So that's every half an hour. I'm surprised my wife don't make me shut that off.
Until you reset it.
And it actually resets itself at 8 p.m. It just resets itself.
You message me, you may have a stolen mail.
Yeah, that's right. It opened again, so you.
My experience is
So
1 o'clock in the morning.
3 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, here's one of the got yous, guys. This is good because so I put this motion detector out on my deck. Okay, first I placed it one place, and I have these plants out there, and of course that drove me crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, daggone it. Duh. And so then I moved it so it's actually positioned directly across from the patio door. Okay, so if someone's standing at the door, you come out the door, it senses. However, that wasn't good enough. So I found you see this little cone thing around?
Yeah.
So we did a directional sensing. It's like that worked perfect because that actually points it directly toward the door. So I just cut the bottom out, glued it on there. It's like, okay, got it. Got it. So I mean, that's actually what I wanted. That's actually why I wanted to put things in place, because I knew this would happen. You start finding out things that, oh, that's not working. Oh, that's not working. So you have to either redesign something.
So what?
Are your
what
dog set? Was the dog set that off?
The dog will, and that's actually a good thing, because that's somebody, that's right, you have that, that's right. That's actually a good thing, because we have the same problem. Our dog will sit there and he'll be out there all day, will not make a word, will not do a sound. He'll be just like, okay. They'll come get me one day. One day we like turn the lights off, go upstairs, go to bed. Oh, he's still in here. So that's actually a good thing, that actually will sense the dog that's sitting down. Because what happens, we usually let the dog out the garage and he goes up front. Unfortunately, actually, I used to hate this. He will actually poop on the concrete on the drive.
God.
He starts on the grass and then he finally ends up on somewhere on the driveway or on the sidewalk. But the good thing about, I can find it. I just go poop scooper, scoop it up. Just can't leave it out there too long for the neighbors when they come walking by. Say, could you clean up your dog?
So the sensor is the
two-dimensional
purpose of that
random
sensor is
number
to
It's just an intrusion sensor more so than anything. I mean, it's just really something to do.
So it's pointing at the sliding glass doors is basically.
Yeah, exactly. So if someone comes, and actually you'll see in the automation, if someone comes to the door, and it's at night, it'll actually turn the family room lights on. And it also every time someone goes past there, you'll hear an audible sound. It'll say, someone's on something's on the back deck door or something like that.
But it doesn't see through the glass.
No, it won't. It will not. It will not. Have you ever tried that?
No.
It
What
will,
is it? A PIR?
Yeah.
Okay.
It will. Yeah. It will. It will not see through the glass, because actually I was trying to test it. And I opened the screen door up and left the glass so I could test it, so I could go hear if it was really working or not. It didn't see through the glass. I was surprised.
That makes sense.
Yeah, does it? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I was, because it's not heat. It actually senses. Because that has that little I don't know what you call that little crystal thing on the thing, and it basically would detect. It's supposed to detect differences.
Yeah.
Between so you would think. I would have.
But it's looking at really long wave IR.
Yeah, right.
It's not looking at near IR.
Right.
It's looking at.
So when you think the glass depletes
glass
that?
glass is completely opaque. It goes way down.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, good point. So,
That's where it makes sense.
yeah, exactly. So cool. Okay, here's all this. Okay, this gets crazy here. Okay, this thing down here, the little green thing, that's actually what I call the edge device. And if you guys listen to my spiel most of the time, when the big head people started thinking about Internet of Things, they said, okay, we're gonna send all of our data up to the cloud. Everything's going to the cloud. And then all of a sudden, people start to realize that, okay, if I send this loan, if I want to indicate that someone's in peril or something, or I want to shut down a machine, I'm sending my data, sensor data, all the way up to the cloud, and then it's coming back and then it's doing an action. So they came up with this edge devices. So they said, okay, we need to put this edge device, we need to put some smarts down by the sensors. And so that's basically it's basically just an 82, it's an 8266 that has the programming, and it picks up all the information from all the sensors. And so, and I think I'm overtaxing it right now. So what the cool thing about it is I can split that off. So right now I'm doing everything on that one particular thing, but I can easily go to two. And that's what I'm thinking about. Some of the automation part may go to another one, and then this one just actually picks up the statuses and blah, 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 blah. So anyway, this is down here with the speaker. This is actually what's speaker, and I brought that in before, and that's the EMIC 2, which actually announced, you guys will hear that. I got an example of what that sounds like. Let's see. Oh, there's the bathroom sensor here. So we have, it actually works well. I got little, what do you call that? Blue Magic little gunky things that you sort of stick here that allows to keep the wires in place. And I have it's a reset button here, so because once it gets to that point, I have an audible in there. It actually starts to beep, so I can shut it off there. Let's see.
500 volts.
Yeah, that's right. My wife said, "Is that going to shock me?" It's batteries. Oh, yeah, I didn't hook it up to 110. So, and this is actually the sensor that when I was telling you guys about the garage
Yeah.
art, and I was showing you about the garage little push button things that I modified. So this is that Sonos AC switch, which in this case is hooked to those lamps that are in my family room. So I just plug them in here. It's hooked to the family room and turns lamps on and off. Let's see. This sensor over here is actually down in the basement. It's actually pointed. It has a humidity and temperature sensor, and also has a light sensor, or the photoelectric sensor that actually senses when the lights are on in the basement. So I have that actually mounted. This is actually mounted over, not too far. Well, it's not. It's just pointed toward a light, so it actually senses when the light's on. That's really the biggest thing on it. I mean, as far as the temperature go, even though it reports the temperature and the humidity, I don't really care. So, and this right here is actually in the basement also. It's pointed toward a window. And the reason I put it in the basement is because that's not affected by other things going on unless I'm just happen to be in a basement. But I got it pointed out toward the outside window, so it's actually facing and sort of mounted up against the outside window, so it senses whether it's light outside or dark. Down here, I actually brought. I don't know if I brought that in or not, but this is actually the sensor that I hooked to the fireplace.
You showed us a video
Okay,
of that.
yeah, okay, and you'll turn the fireplace on or off. Okay, sorry guys, it's getting long. Okay, this is actually
In the car.
yeah, this is in the car. This is the LoRa sensor that's in the car, and I actually also have a beacon sensor, and I'll tell you the story of why I have two sensors in the car now. Because it turns out that this LoRa sensor is the one that senses the long distance, of course. It senses this one actually even having it inside the car, it still senses actually before I even get to the driveway. I mean, it does a pretty good job, and I have it on this particular process. You can sort of control the power a little bit, and this sensor. What happened is that it turns out in my car, and I didn't know this, and maybe most cars do that. They actually turn the USB thing off after a certain amount of time, and that makes sense. Okay, so it was screwing me. So what happened is because I was going to use the sensor also to indicate that the car is there. And so I actually have part of it. It goes through and it looks at it and says, "Oh, there's a car there, no big deal." I mean, so I put this sensor. I didn't realize that the beacons that I actually put on my keychain could process in a longer distance. I thought the ones that everything I had read, they only had a short distance. And I think one of the things I got hooked up in this mindset that I was trying to determine what room I was in. So what I did is I threw out trying to determine what room it is and said, okay, I want to determine. So I turned the power up, so it was actually penetrate more. And it turns out I can pick up that beacon, this little beacon here. I can pick that up almost anywhere in the house. And so it's not a problem picking it up in the garage. So I said, I'll just throw it in there. And it's like, hey, it's $9. I'll put it in the car, and now I can see that the car is actually still there. So, but that was the reason why I added this extra beacon here. Which is that me or
No, that's me. We're good. We're good.
We're still going. Okay. So any questions about that, guys? I know I'm boring you to death, but
No, it's pretty
We
interesting.
gotta redo the bathroom thing. We need ultrasonic, or if you're gonna use wires, do a floor detector where you see the water on the floor.
why do I want to wait till I get to the floor?
He doesn't want to wait
You
that
need a
long.
wire. You don't need any wire in the bathtub jack.
No, it's not a good idea.
Why do you think it's going to electric and a battery is going to have an issue?
No, it's just
It's just the look, the aesthetics.
aesthetic.
Yeah.
Oh no, I agree.
There's a guy in jail.
Your old
right
lady
now
should be
that-
all over you, buddy.
Bathroom. Yeah.
No, I agree. No, I agree with that. I agree, and I'm.
Gail would string me up.
I would-
Tell you, she
Your
would-
your tub
Could be
doesn't
over.
have an overflow.
Yes, it does. Yeah, and that's that's eventually what I'm probably going to do, and that's what I'll probably do. But it's like, again, keep in
But
mind
if you turn the water on faster than the overflow goes.
Ultrasonic level. You can tell us
Ultrasonic
what-
in the
where are you going to put the
ceiling?
ultrasonic on the ceiling?
The ceiling, yeah.
Yeah.
But the single one that
Will it work with batteries?
Yeah.
But you
What
I
you
have
do
done
is
my
you
you
put
can do
a
it
pressure sensor
once
under the bottom
every
of the
5
tub.
minutes or so.
And you have to calibrate the
5
pressure
minutes,
sensor to
your tub
determine
will fill up
exactly
pretty
what
fast.
No,
I
you
mean,
just determine, you set it so that when the water gets so deep,
Right. It's
the tub flexes.
right.
Like it or no, the tub flexes.
So-
Even a
But then his
cloth
old lady gets in it and they go,
So what you recommended, Art, is that I rip out the
No.
That sounds good.
I recommend that you do something a little more subtle than that.
No, but I agree with you. I mean, I agree. It's kludgy right now, but you know, it's,
Where in the bathtub, man, that's.
no, and I'm so you know, frankly, I'm surprised my wife did let me get away with it. To tell the truth.
she giving you some rope, man. I wish I had that kind of.
Wait a while.
Yeah,
went
One of her
down.
friends will say to her,
I know. Yeah, once
"You let him put wires?"
that's right. Once a woman comes up there and looks at it, that's gonna be the kicker.
Yeah.
and menopause hits,
On
you're dying,
my
it's over, you're dead.
electrostatic cleaner in my furnace, it's a pressure switch that operates through a tube.
When the lights
And you may be able to simply
Someone
put
was in
the
Right,
tube
yeah.
in, and when the water comes up, the pressure in
A bubble tube.
That,
Well, it won't necessarily bubble, but
But, oh yeah.
it will create a pressure because of the depth of the water.
It's kind
That
of like a
might work.
barometer tube.
yeah.
Much time I got?
You got time.
Okay, good.
Yeah, there's another half hour at least.
Okay, all right, we should be good. That's good. That's
Are you
good.
publishing a bill of materials for this?
I actually have a bill of material for it. I haven't published it.
No, are you publishing it on the site?
I have not, but I have a bill of material. If you're
Because
interested,
the one thing you've accumulated here is a number of vendors of devices that are very, and so nobody else has to go and do all the research again.
Tastes good.
That would be very handy, that would be very helpful.
You could publish it in Electronics Magazine, Electronics Illustrated.
I'll publish it on. We'll
Publish
figure
it
it
on our
out.
website.
One of the,
Yeah.
Well, once we get the website up, we can. I'll
oh,
definitely put it
it's
there.
going,
Oh,
your
you're
edge
also
device,
putting more
have you
projects.
looked at the 32s,
And
the
you
ESP
even have a
32s?
folder.
Yeah, I have not
Oh,
yet.
it doesn't have a folder?
Yeah, and I have not
Even
yet
120.
because
Yeah.
I want to. I'm just trying to keep my focus.
Yeah.
But no, and that was part of the standardization that I'll talk a little bit about. Is that one of the issue is that it's so much out there. It's just so easy to get distracted. So when I standardized, even though I standardized on the ESP 8266, even though I
Instead of
know.
use so
Yeah.
much different.
Yeah, it
It's
starts
hard to
with,
maintain.
yeah, and I had even on this, and I'll show you guys. I had a PC board made up that I can plug in, so I could go. And a good example of that is that when I did the fireplace sensor, I assumed you got to switch on the wall for the fireplace, right?
Right.
I assumed that switch was an AC switch. Right. When I opened, so I built the thing up, didn't open the wall up and look at it first. So I built this AC switch, you're ready to put it in, pull it out. It's 2 wires going to a daggone, regular switch. And I said, you gotta be kidding. So it took me 4 hours, just 4 hours, to go redesign the whole thing and make a thing with a relay, because I had relays too. So I made a box with a relay in it, and boom. And I was done. So that's why the standardization, it just makes it easier for me to keep going and say, okay, not only do the whole goal here was to do the IoT project, not necessarily to do all the other stuff that goes with it, even though, like, for example, your project, the thing that you showed, I think it was 2 weeks ago, where you did the little display, and also did the over-the-air update. Oh God, that was so tempting. So I actually wrote it down. I said Leroy's project could do later, because it was so intriguing. Now if I would have diverted to that,
Yeah.
of course it never works the first time. So you end up, it's like you end up, okay, this only takes 2 hours, and all of a sudden, it's a day later and you're still screwing
Norman
up.
Protons, and they do that.
Do-
all the
Do what? Over the air
I had to
updates?
step out for a moment.
Proton, Xenon.
About 6 months ago, you talked
Proton?
about
Proton?
Oh, yeah, the
interfacing
Proton?
with Alexa.
They do all the updates.
Yeah, did you show that portion
But
of
they are
this
expensive.
also?
I have, I'm not showing it here, I didn't,
Okay.
but
This-
I will,
this
we'll
was-
talk about it a little bit, but.
It was in
because what-
ESP8266 and using the Arduino IDE, just doing an over-the-air update.
Yeah, and that's one of
It
the
was
things
a
I.
breeze.
Right, and that's what I haven't done with this, even though I have. So I could have stopped and said, "Oh, I'm gonna go do all the air," and then, and you know that when we talked about this, what happens is, you know, it's like they say sometimes you have to shoot the, you have to shoot the engineer and say, "Okay, we're gonna get this thing out the door."
We're gonna ship it.
That's right.
Ship it.
And that's and so otherwise you're always gonna be improving. You're always gonna be improving. I should have. I wanted to do the over the air stuff, but it was like, oh gosh. Just
Yeah,
keep going.
once it was, for me, it was like, I haven't done it, I did it, and it's like, why haven't I done it?
Exactly, I know. Sometimes it becomes so easy. It's like wow. But what I would have had to do is to go back and update all these devices.
Yeah,
Like,
you would, if you
yeah.
would have had to have done,
His phone.
it would have been a lot of work. Get it
Yeah.
working first and
Right,
then go back.
but I would definitely go to that. I
Does he
I
have
hadn't
this
had
stuff
anything in the
there?
China pipe, so
you
I went and
looks
ordered
like it
those
might not be
displays.
updated well
You know how they
after
so they
5,
group them
10.
together.
Yeah.
You have to buy 7
This
for them,
is
I think it
2.8.
was, and so I got those on order. So,
This is February.
You
This
have to
is,
realize that 2
May
weeks from
last
now,
Yeah.
there's going to be something better.
Oh, there already
It
is.
is. It always
There
is.
already is.
Yeah, and if you wait until everything is perfect, you'll
You
never
never
do
do it. Yeah,
anything.
you never do it. Yeah. So okay. So the next thing. So here's all the beacons. I told you he was gonna say, "Oh, there's Noah." So I put a beacon on Noah. He's like, he's not happy.
He looks so happy to have that beacon attached to him.
He's like, "You sure you want to do this to me?" He's like, "Stay still so I can take your picture." It's like, so I got a beacon on this is my man bag. This is my key. This is different. This was the original beacon that the Radius network came out with, and then they came out with this better one. And I mentioned this before, is that these are actually supposed to be disposable. But of course, I took a razor blade and took it apart, and it pops back together. It even pops once you cut it apart. It actually pops back. I thought I had to tape it up afterwards.
How much it was?
They're $9. I think they're $9. Yeah, $9. And
They weren't very expensive.
no, and they're Bluetooth low energy. So they work pretty good. So I like them. So go ahead.
How old is your dog?
Nothing. We already
He was a rescue dog, so we're not exactly sure, but we've had him for about 9 years. He's actually a good dog. I always it's hard to have dogs when all your kids are grown and gone.
Yeah.
Because every time you decide to jump up and go somewhere, the dog, you got to figure out what to do with the dog, and it's like Sandra.
Indispensable.
So anyway, so here's so I was telling you that one of the things I found out about going down this road of trying to determine if these beacons and these different devices are actually working or not was the feedback. Because sometimes they, you either program it wrong and it just stops working. So first I started putting this little, on every one of them, it's a little 1 second heartbeat on every one. So I can go look at it and see the heartbeat. And then I created this display that showed, okay, what the status was. So I think it was Leroy, we started talking about speech modules. And so I got a speech module, and so now what I actually do is I can hear it. And so what I have doing is, so this is one example. You guys are gonna have to be really patient with me on this because it's kind of slow. But you'll hear, and this is the status, what actually happens every half an hour. It's coming.
Hello. The date is Monday, July 2019, and the time is 3:45 p.m.
Gotta love a deck talk.
Where is Sarah Connors?
And then sometimes hard, and you get to understand just like listening to somebody foreign.
I'll be back.
I'll be back.
Now it's gonna go through all the statuses of all the sensors. I won't let it play all the way through, but just to give you an idea. and ultimately I'll change it to just giving me the statuses of the ones that's
Kind of
critical.
sounds like Stephen Hawking's thing.
It does.
It-
It's
well,
like, yeah.
He
The main
actually,
garage door
he actually
is
helped
open.
design it.
The garage door is open.
Me shuffling around in the background or something. But that's the
The
first
garage door
garage
is
door,
open.
right? And it's so it takes a while before.
The driveway lights are minus exit drop off.
See, and sometimes it garbles it. Sometimes it garbles it. What it was gonna
The
say is,
basement temperature is 72.50 degrees.
I could live with that.
yeah.
The basement is at 41.70% relative humidity. The basement lights are on. The lights are on.
The lights are on.
That's pretty
Lights are
human.
on.
72%
It lights on site right now.
No, it's 42%.
42.
72.5 temperature.
The fireplace is off.
Why am I in battery saving mode?
Marcus's keys are here.
So my keys are here.
Marcus's shoulder bag is not here.
Any extension?
Marcus's laptop is here.
Oh, it's your battery, okay.
Is it your
Oh, it's my
battery or
battery.
yours?
It's
Is it your
No, I'm
battery or
fine.
your
my
battery?
battery.
Marcus's
I'm
car is
sitting
in
there
the
going,
garage.
why is it telling me
Laptops,
Uh,
laptop is not here.
yeah, the laptop's not
Sandra's
here.
car is not here.
that? Oh, the car is not here.
Oh my God.
Uh-oh, I just screwed it up. So anyway, the other alert, yeah, that's actually better. I can see better. Okay, so let me get back to that. So that's the status. Every half an hour it goes through the statuses. And again, eventually what I'll do is I'll turn off.
Your OneDrive is almost full.
No kidding. So it's full. So one of the things I'll do eventually, I'll turn. Right now I'm just testing stuff, so I just get all the statuses, know whether if they're good or bad. But ultimately, it'll just be the status. Like it'll tell when the garage doors are left or the lights are on. But if the lights are off, it won't even say anything. So that's the goal. So the other alert.
I have a question. Those tags works with any apps for the phone, for example?
What do you mean?
The tags. Does exist an app to use those tags to check for your computer in the phone?
Oh, you can do it. Yeah,
Yeah?
There is a program by Microelectronics, I think it is.
Okay.
They have an app that you can use for it's Bluetooth Low Energy. It basically
Okay,
just basically picks up Bluetooth. So I use that for testing to see how far I can actually get. So it's like a survey. So I use that for survey. But actually, what's picking that up is a Raspberry Pi, and they have it's a BLE library that's in that Raspberry Pi that allows you to actually do it because Raspberry Pi has Bluetooth Low Energy integrated in it. So it works out. So the other thing, so again, the status is happening every half an hour. Basically, it tells me the time, tells me the day, and tells me the status. Now this alert actually, like if the garage door opens, I'll just play it.
Is that it?
No, you'll hear a beat first. I just didn't get it synchronized. There it is.
Hello. The date is Monday, July 2019, and the time is 3:45 p.m.
Sorry, guys. Cancel that one. Get out. Come here. There we go. This is. There you go. That is quick.
Motion detected on back deck. The battery level is 3.43 volts.
So that's one of them. So that's a sensor. So if the motion detector on the back, it'll warn you at that particular time if the mailbox is open. Then there's one more.
Motion has been detected in the garage. The battery level is 3.34 volts.
So on all the sensors that I have batteries in, that are batteries in, it'll actually tell me what the voltage is at that point. Now I can also, of course, you guys know I can change that and just not make it tell the voltage and just say, okay, you need to change your battery. But right now, I'm amazed. Actually, I'm really amazed that that's working so well. That these batteries went in there in February, and they're still at 3.4 something volts, and they starts off at 3.4 something volts. So they're basically not even getting drained. So that again, that's and the motion detector on the deck is, that thing's going off constantly. I have to shut the voice off because it's. You go out and grill and it's going off. I don't move it. I don't shut it down or anything. I just leave it, let it go. So, but that was a big triumph because I did several iterations before I got to a point where basically don't play again. Okay, here we go. Okay, so let's see the automation part. So you can't have a smart home without you can have sensors all over the place, but they got to do something. Right. They got to do something. So this is the automation, and it says it's going to turn on the family room lights if it's outside, it's dark outside, and also motion is detected on the deck. So if I play this, you'll see, and it's just showing you what happens. And it's actually darker than what it seems. You know how a camera makes it look brighter than what it really is. So there's the motion detector. So I just walk out to there.
Oh.
Camera come back in and presto chango, the lights will come on. So yeah. So that's again that's one automation, and the other one that
This is a Wise camera?
this camera the camera that I'm using to film this.
Yeah.
No.
No. The
Oh,
camera
no, it's not.
that you're using to sense the
Oh no, it's not even a camera. It's actually what's actually sensing it is that motion detector on the deck. Here, I'll show it.
PIR.
That PIR.
Yeah, the
Okay.
PIR right,
Oh, all right.
right
all right.
there. There it is. It's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's actually.
But the image we're seeing here, is that off a Wise camera?
No, that's actually it's a knockoff of the what's that daggone thing? The ones you
GoPro?
GoPro. Yeah, it's a knockoff of a GoPro. Something I ordered from China. So, but it works pretty good. So anyway, the second automation is actually, this is dark. This is actually outside I'm in my car and I'm outside. You'll see me pull away and then I'm gonna speed it forward. I'm not gonna make you watch me drive around the block. But basically this will show the automation, which is the condition is that it's gonna turn the driveway lights on and also the garage lights. If it's dark outside and the car goes from being away to being here. And that's all programmed in. So I'm backing out of the driveway, and I'm going to go down the street, and I'm going to speed that up because it will take forever. So I'm going to go down the street, and all the way down the street. So I'm basically going around the block. Go down, take a right-hand turn, I'll take another right-hand turn, and I'll go up the hill, and I'll take another right-hand turn, and go up the hill, and I'll take a right-hand turn, and I'm going to stop it right there. So if you look closer to the left, you'll see when I start to pull to the house, as soon as I make this turn, on the second house on the top of the hill. So right there, my house on the left, you see my lights come on. I hope you did.
Yep.
And so that was sort of when I first started talking about, that was sort of the whole dream of things, is that to be able to do, that was one of the big things to be able to do, is to be able to have it actually do something. Not just, you got the sensors, so you go check the sensor and say, oh wow, my garage lights are on, my lights are on in the basement, but this is actually doing something that actually, makes it maybe a little safer for my wife, and so I feel more confident when my wife comes home in the dark. So anyway, that, by the way, Leroy, you'll find this interesting. One of the things that happens is while I was testing these, it would go off at different. Sometime it would think my car is gone, and it wasn't.
Okay.
And so I'd wake up in the morning, the lights are all on. So I created these two topics, the MQTT topics, so I can disable and enable the whether they come on or off. So I could turn it off while I'm testing and say, okay, I'll make sure you're not going to come on, and I'll get up in the morning and I got these 300 watt light bulbs outside that are been on all night, but it freaked me out. so my wife knows that, so she gets up and says, your lights on outside again. she needles me right. Okay, so let's see, get to the end of this. Okay, so as I was telling you guys, I tried to standardize on as much as I could. So everything that uses a battery actually uses this little surface mount box here. So if I'm not using a battery, I use the full 8266 MCU. This happens to be a lower device and I could have used something else, but it just turns out that actually worked. And this actually I ordered from some European company. Took a while to get here. I think it was almost $29 or something like that. And you guys saw the Sonos switches. I brought those in before. Raspberry Pi 3B Plus. And I actually went out and got circuit boards made up, which again, and that's what I was telling you guys. I got the circuit boards made up so I can pop my processor in here, and it's actually made to fit in this box. So I can pop the processor here and put any components here, put a few holes in the box, and I'm ready, and I'm ready to go. You got to pay attention to this. Oh, I didn't print it, but the boards cost for 30 boards $18. It costs $19 to ship it. Well, so the next time I order 50 boards or something. Shipping price will be the same. So, and then I got the standard box and these radius rad beacons, and of course it changed. Then I used most of the time doing programming. I went away from the standard Arduino IDE and went to like Visual Studio, and I actually had to spend some little money. I think it was like $200 on this Visual Micro, and that's a plug-in to Visual Studio, which just made the debugging a little easier. It has some debugging capabilities that you don't get into the Arduino, so it just made it a little easier. And it also made it easier to copy code over and reuse code, so it made it a lot easier there. So, but let's see, I got 2 more slides and we are done, guys. Okay, here's the thing I was telling you about this is actually the top of my garage. So I bought that and it just basically goes over that, the plug. And so I was able to use the 5 volts coming out of here to supply power to the 2 of the hubs that's in the garage. And this is actually in the basement here. So I needed at least 2 outlets already, and then I got 2 sensors down there that are plugged in, as opposed to being able to use the transformer, the wall transformer. It was make it so much easier.
Yeah.
So let's see. So the audio feedback, I talked about using audio for validation. What's next? Okay, guys, and I don't know if I'm going to go back and do this or not, but the whole goal was hooking all this up to Azure, Microsoft Azure. I'm probably going to go play with it a little bit more, but the big thing, and you talked about it a little bit about Mike, on the integration into Alexa, because I have it so that what I want to do is have Alexa give me the status. So say, Alexa, what is the status be like before I go up to bed or something? And it'll say, okay, you left the garage door open or something like that, and she can give me the status.
The water is flowing.
Right. Yeah. The only problem with Alexa to that point is that you have to ask her. So if something's going wrong, she ain't gonna say, "Hey, dummy, the water's flowing downstairs." So it's not gonna do that unless what you could actually do is create. You could do the IMAC and say, Alexa, and it could trigger.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, and then the over-the-air. I was talking about the over-the-air. I want to definitely get into more to the over-the-air stuff. And one of the things I want to do is to create a water flow sensor. And this is. And my point is not necessarily to have it more work that I can hook it around the pipes or something so it knows when the water, when we typically go away for vacation, which by the way, we're going away in next weekend after. I won't be here weekend after that.
Close everything.
Did you really? You just shut it off? See, the problem is I have plants. And the plants I have to water while I'm gone.
Yeah.
And so I actually set a sprinkler up in the front and the back, and I set them on timers.
Replace them with cactus.
They're hard to kill.
Californian people.
Thanks,
Not
Art.
worry about water and cactuses.
And also, the other thing is over the stove. Oh, that's all. I'm sure we all think about that. Leaving the stove, walking out, leaving the stove on. So I was thinking of Hall of Fame. You don't think about it?
I don't think about
Yeah,
it.
well, I do because I cook breakfast in the morning and it's like all of a sudden, okay, maybe did I leave the stove on?
Did I leave that on?
Yeah, it's like, did I leave that stove on? My thought was, actually, I was thinking about having some type of either Hall effect sensor that you pick it up, that's around the cables, or some type of vibration sensor, or a sensor maybe up. We have a hood.
How
Maybe
about just a current sensor?
yeah. But is it something you can do without having to to create something that?
What about just a heat sensor?
Well, I know it's just trying to put it. It's just like it's like, where do I put it? Right. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, I can't put the heat sensor on the surface of the stove. I could put it. They have an LED on there that says that the stove's on, but I mean that's really bad. I mean, you think the bathroom sensor
Is that
is
an infrared
aesthetically?
sensor?
Yeah. What about one of those infrared no contact sensors?
What are we sensing? What are you looking
Heat.
It's an infrared. It's
Temperature.
like a tiny can with 3 legs.
Yeah.
at? I've never played with them, so yeah.
I've got one.
Analog value proportional to
Just
the
that-
I've got two. I can bring one for you to play
Well,
with.
just send me a spec on it. Just send me a spec
Yeah,
first.
cheap, but
But yeah, that
It's like a single vision, single point. So it's not going to be broad
Right.
temperature ranges, but you could do, if it goes above
20
98 degrees
or
or
something.
100 degrees or
Your
whatever.
stove's on a separate circuit, right?
right.
So you just sense the current.
And that's why I thought about that. Like they have a clip-on meters, like a full clip-on.
Like an EM.
Well,
Like, now I know you don't have to do anything that crazy, but
No, but they now have apparatus you can put in your breaker box that looks at each circuit.
any temperature
And
sensor.
all you need to
Close
do is
would
just
be
look
enough,
at
I
one
think.
circuit and determine whether there's current flowing in a circuit. Your stove, if we're talking stovetop for starters,
right.
it's not gonna share that circuit with anything else.
Right, that's true.
It's
Put me
gonna
up,
be,
Leroy.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
I did that
There's gonna be
when
a
I
220,
looked at my
it's gonna be a
website. When I looked at the
220.
Right.
website.
Can you put me up?
Okay, now,
Oh,
can those look at threshold? For example, if you have a clock on
Sure,
your,
you just set it.
well,
Yeah,
if
the
you have a
answer
clock on
is
your
yes.
stove.
So what is? I've seen the things that you can actually put on the breaker. You can actually put on the breaker.
No,
and it senses-
you wanna go behind the breaker panel and
and pick up one of the wires.
pick off one of the wires.
That's
There are devices
right.
that sense current.
Right. It's like a fluke snap.
Yeah,
Clamp.
yeah,
Clamp
Yeah,
on meter.
but you
Yeah.
want a threshold device.
Right.
Cause you don't want it with, when you've got 2 milliamps in there, you want it when it's got an amp
Right.
or whatever, and so you set the threshold. And you can run that to an Arduino or
Right.
any other switching device.
That's a good point.
But you sense that circuit, and your wife's not gonna complain about what's behind the circuit.
That's for sure.
Okay.
She won't even go to that basement, so that don't have to worry about that.
But
This is,
you get it out of sight. That's the thermal sensor.
yeah, it's just we
Put it
can't.
up in the hood. You got power up in the hood.
Library doesn't want us to go to eBay, but it's just a little thermal.
So
You could get a couple of them. And,
That's what I was. Yeah,
Yeah.
that may be the issue though, because you got 4 burners. Now is that going to pick up? Is it?
oh no, it actually
It's-
if you read the
it's like
specs,
a camera, but with a
It's-
single pixel.
it's
A cone. It's like
Yeah.
a cone, right?
It's gonna be probably, what, 20
But-
degrees, 30
Yeah,
degrees,
something
something
like
like that.
what I was talking. It's a single point. It's not. So you can't pay an image.
I made
Of-
a project
of
with
heat.
it, with a
Right, but
with
it's still picking up.
a metal pipe and 2 servos to make a temperature
Yeah.
map.
He made
Oh, you
with
made a heat
yourself.
map. You made a heat map.
He made a heat map with a single one by using servos and
Oh, so moving it, actually moving it. You were actually moving it.
Yeah.
Oh, they're like scanning.
Yeah,
So you did a raster scan of,
yeah.
but that's not a. It's like a single point.
Right.
So maybe, and it's I2C.
Oh, okay, right.
So I know you can use 2 of them with no problem. I don't know if you could use 4 with no problem. But you can play with it
Right.
because
You have temperature of your house in several points.
Yeah. Okay,
But
to
you
different.
can have a temperature sensor close
Close to the stove.
to the stove, and if the temperature is 4 degrees upper or something, to
Right.
say, okay, so.
Or you can put it. I can get it close to the stove. That's not a problem. I
Those-
can hide it up. I mean, I can hide it above it.
And the
I got
rest of
plenty
the house?
room
those
above
those
it.
things work really
Yeah.
well.
Okay.
Flat surface.
Are we done?
Yeah,
Start
yeah,
wrapping
yeah.
it.
You have a Moto G
But I have replaced that.
Oh,
that's a-
You have
good
actually
Lord, we are
the
done.
inside
Yeah.
of that.
Right.
I'm
Okay,
Moto-
everybody, we're done.
Mounting